Yes, salam, and hello, peace lovers and peacemakers. Welcome to Peace Mindedly Season 5. We recorded this program for you to make it ready during Ramadan, and we are all ready to go. You can find lots of information about us on peacemindedly.com. And also, please, if you would like, please give us your feedback. And if you have any story ideas or you would like to get a connection with us, do write on info@peacemindedly.com. So I really believe that going through Ramadan is we cannot go through Ramadan without talking about food. Our bodies stay away from food for many hours, and probably our minds is cannot think about anything else but food and what we are going to put in our stomach after long time of starvation. And Ramadan is a beautiful month for Muslims to stay away from so many of the things that may, on given days we just do not pay attention to, and by that we are obeying God and following the spirit of Ramadan. During this month, I cannot help but think about one specific line that I truly love. It is by Rumi. It says, شکم از طعام خالی کن که در آن نور خدا بینی. Empty out your belly from food to see God's light. And I do believe that usually happens during Ramadan, but the reality is we cannot live with God's light. We do need the food. And then when time comes to break fast and sit on the table to have food, we usually want some healthy, light, and nutritious food. And for that, we have someone who can talk with us about basically what to prepare. Egyptian Flavors 50 Recipes is a charming pocketbook full of many amazing, easy to follow recipes from Egypt, the land of ancient and the land of beautiful sites. In this book you can find recipes and stories of classic food for breakfast like ta'amiyya or falafel, my favorite. Or my guest is going to correct me if I am doing any mispronunciation, but I believe she said medames or slow cooked fava beans. And also my favorite one, cabbage, stuffed cabbage. That is, the name is mahshi kram. I think mahshi is for when whatever is stuffed. This is what I learned a few minutes ago. And then when my mom is around, I usually have her to make this delicious food. Dyana Eldaief, celebrated chef and recipe developer, is written 2 books. Egyptian Flavors is one of them. Dyna was discovered by the Middle East edition of the reality TV cook show The Taste. Before appearing in the show, Dyna wrote and is still writing in her blog and have lots of YouTube clips. I am bringing Dyna to our studio. Hello, Dyna.
Thank you, Sarah. What a lovely welcome. I'm so pleased to be here.
We are so delighted to have you here. Thank you very much. And then I just want to make sure that I brought Sarah Schreiber into our attention, because Sarah is on the other end helping us out to make sure everything is up and running. Absolutely marvelous. Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Of course. Egyptian Flavors is full of, as I said, easy to follow recipes. I think that Daina really wants us to cook Egyptian food, so therefore she is making it very easy for us to follow the instruction. Okay, Daina, let's say it's Ramadan and we want something healthy, light, at the same time nutritious and very delicious. What is your suggestion?
Well, I think there are a few very yummy go-to dishes. You've already mentioned tamia and mashi. Mashi is stuffed, as you said. That would be correct. I would think that mashi wara enab is a very popular dish to prepare.
What is that?
It's called mashi wara enab. So mashi is the stuffed, and wara enab is the vine leaf, the leaf from the grapevine. And you would have seen that. It's very similar to the dolma from Greek cuisine. They prepare it differently. They serve it cold. In Egypt, they're a more delicate roll, and it is served hot. And it's a really refreshing and nice. Has a squeeze of lemon juice, and it's a lovely end to a
It
day.
is difficult to fold that thing. I mean, my mom makes, and it's
Yes,
just each one by one, and
one by
it's
one.
tough. And then,
That's why it's so special, I think. Yes.
so how do you fold it?
Well, I'm not sure if you can see my palm there.
Hold
Hang
on.
on. So you want to try and there we go. You want to try. You put your meat across the end, your rice and mince that's already prepared, and then you fold the end, and then you flip the sides over, and then you roll down your hand basically, and that gives you a very, very neat roll. It's
Mhm.
it's an acquired art form, really, isn't it?
Yeah. And then for whoever is not watching this video, you need to come back to this video and see what Dyna just did. And then it's okay. You said mashi vara einab.
That's correct. Yeah,
Yes,
wara einab.
vara
Wara
einab.
means paper, and the einab is the grape. So it's the leaf, the vine
Why
leaf.
would you think that this is a good dish for iftar?
Well, because it's very light, actually. It's not a heavy, very heavy dish. It's just got a little bit of stuffing. You have a lovely flavors of lemon juice at the end, and sometimes when you cook that, you put some lamb bones in there, so you can get the flavor of that. But it's not very meaty or very heavy. It's quite light and nice.
And you also told me that your favorite dish is full medames.
For Medamus, yeah, that's very popular. It's obviously great for people who are vegetarian. It's made from broad beans or fava beans, and that's really slow cooked. Sometimes that's slow cooked over several hours, or 7 or 8 hours, or very, very gently cooked. And then that's sort of popped out of their skin and then mushed together. And you season that and have that with whichever you prefer. But usually I like to have a little bit of onion, some cucumber, just some Lebanese cucumber, which is very finely diced, some tomato, which is finely diced. And so it's also very light. And really an all-day food. I think it could cover any meal, but it's certainly a great way. It would be a great way to have to break fast.
Yes. So, I mean, when we are talking about slow cooking and taking time to cook a dish, it's time consuming and
Mm.
sounds or feels difficult, isn't it?
It does. I think we're very lucky because nowadays we don't have to have it sitting underneath in the coals cooking overnight. We can use a slow cooker. Slow cookers are a great modern tool. You can set and forget for those sort of things if you've got one of those at home. If you didn't, you could even use a pressure cooker if you're used to using a pressure cooker, or you could just if it's one of those days that you've got and you can prepare it in advance, then that's something that you could just leave cooking for hours, and then it will be ready for the evening.
Why do you think falafel is a famous, internationally famous dish, in your opinion?
Well,
And for
it's
that matter, kofta also or dolma, they are very famous. Why is that?
Well, I think with falafel and with tamia, as you know, it is very, very international, and it's become popular because it's varied throughout the Middle East region. You can find that often in Lebanon, that the tamia the falafel is made with chickpeas. In Egypt, it's not. It's made with the same beans as full medamas, so use the fava beans there, or broad beans, and that is also paired with very, very fresh herbs. you've got spring onion and parsley, and you've got just a vibrancy and a real green, the health of all those green vegetables, vitamin A from parsley, which is a really, really lovely herb to use. You could use dill, and basically it incorporates all of those lovely fresh things. So I think it's light. You fry it, but that it's not a no food, I would say. All of these things that are fried are now a part of the Mediterranean diet, which worldwide is seen as the, if not arguably the best cuisine, the Middle Eastern diet, for health benefits. So I think it really does have a lot of nutritional benefits, and it's light, and another vegetarian option.
So why do you think that Mediterranean cuisine is here in the US? We have just lots of this. I wouldn't say noise, because I love Mediterranean cuisine, but why do we think that Mediterranean cuisine is good one?
Well, from my understanding, and I've been interested in the Egyptian cuisine for a number of over 2 decades now. And my research over that period of time, and the research that has come out, has shown that the Mediterranean diet, which is full of healthy oils, it has a lot of grains, it has nuts and legumes, and it has full of herbs from the garden, which are great to grow. But those herbs are lemon juice, olive oil. Those are really, really very good for our bodies. And the Mediterranean diet also isn't full of just excess heavy foods and heavily processed food. And I think that's something that you'll find in, certainly in the US and here where I am in Australia. That's a very big part of a lot of people's diet.
What is the major difference? What is a very major dish in Australia? And in your opinion, what are the major differences between Australian cuisine and Egyptian cuisine?
Yeah, that's a really good question, I think. In Australia, I think predominantly at meal times, or in the main meal of the day, they usually have a meat and 3 veg kind of option. You'll hear that a lot thrown around, meat and 3 veg. And a lot of the time that's cooked outside on a barbecue, or certainly in the summer months, you'll have a lot of meat that's cooked outside, and that may be sausages, steak, which is very, very common. You'll have hamburgers, also very common, and these are mainly very heavy in saturated fats. So while you do have the idea of an ideal meal of 3 veg, really it centers around a protein, and usually the protein is a red meat. Predominantly.
But it's not the case in Mediterranean or Egyptian cuisine. What about Egyptian cuisine? What is the main dish in Egyptian cuisine?
Well, I think just generally speaking, you'll find that there is a variety of dishes, and it doesn't center only around a red meat as the majority of your meals. You do get a lot of the grains, and you do have a lot of things like tabbouleh, and you have mashi, which are stuffed, but they only have a small amount of meat in with the stuffing. I think you've got things like mesa'a, which is the Egyptian moussaka, and you've got your layers of eggplant, and you've got a meat, tomato-based meat sauce in there. It reminds me a little bit of a lasagna in Italian terms, but again, that's a carbohydrate, and so you've got a lot of vegetable in the Middle Eastern and Mediterranean diet. Mm-hmm. So I think that's really where it's different.
What is the moussaka, Egyptian moussaka's name?
Mesa'a, yeah.
Mesa'a. Oh, sorry, Mesa'a. Yeah. So for Mesa'a, do you use cheese for Mesa'a to cover the top?
There's two versions that I make, and one is with with eggplant, which is ideally in a perfect world perfectly sun dried, because that creates a beautiful beautiful flavor just before it's fried, and that's layered with your mince and your tomato based sauce, and that does not have cheese. But the other version with zucchini, often that's just sliced in the same manner as the eggplant. It's fried, just shallow pan fried, and that's layered in the same manner. And I top that with a white sauce and a cheesy white sauce on top.
So, which one of the dishes you make are your Australians' friends' favorite dish that you cannot go wrong with that dish?
Do you know what's really interesting about that is I've been conducting an experiment since I first published my first book, The Taste of Egypt.
Okay.
And because a lot of people in Australia hadn't really experienced Egyptian cuisine, there's not many Egyptian restaurants, I would say. There's actually very few here. What I found is that I would test a lot of my recipes on my friends, and I found even with some very, very picky eaters, Molekai, which is have you heard of Molekai?
What is? I've heard. Yes. I think I've eaten in Dubai, but I don't know what that is.
What it is?
I've heard,
It's a very green soup. It's basically it's like a herb, and in Europe they refer to it as Jew's mallow, but the name of the herb itself is Molekai, and it's the name of the dish.
Mm-hmm.
And Molekai, usually in Australia, we can get it now fairly easily frozen, and in season, in the summer season, in some of the markets, you can find Molekai fresh. And so that's really
is it the name of the vegetable, the herb?
Yes, it is. But it is also the name of the dish.
Yes. What is the equivalence of the same name in English?
I call it Molekai. In English, you will find it as Molekai. When you go to the market, you will often see the English spelling Molekai.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah,
there you
because
go. It's
I
an
think
international name. Yeah, okay. There you go. I like it.
Yes, it's become international, and I think because as more and more people have brought ingredients from their native countries into Australia, and it's become part of the norm to see various ingredients, and you find those available in the market, they're using the traditional names. So there's no Australian name for it as such.
Okay, I like that. I like that. And now you're making me very hungry before iftar.
I think the other thing about it is that the children that have tried that have really enjoyed it as well, and that has surprised me.
Because children do not eat.
They're so
food.
picky. Yeah. And because it's such a strange, there's nothing comparable in Australia to a dish like that. This bright green soup, which is served with rice or bread, is very different to a lot of people. Something they haven't encountered before, but once you taste it, that's where you get everyone on side.
So here's the thing. I have a picture of you. I think we put it on YouTube. The picture shows a very beautiful, like open mouth dish,
Yes.
like a pot, and then there is a green soupy thing inside. Is it Molekai?
If it's the one I'm thinking of, yes, that will be it. It sort of looks quite stringy. It's mucilaginous is the right term.
Okay, so I think we are using the same picture for the YouTube. Yes, so people can see Molekai. That's amazing. So why did you decide to go with the pocket size? I mean, I know that your previous book is more elaborate, but why this one is a pocket size book?
That's a really good question. The Taste of Egypt was really very, very well received internationally and won some worldwide cookbook awards. It won Best Mediterranean Cuisine and Best Arab Cuisine in the year that it was released. And I think what happened was basically more of an awareness of that was almost the entire cuisine. It was very representative of the cuisine and more of a reference cookbook. But not everyone needs that much. Not everyone wants to know all about Egyptian cuisine. And the idea for this book is that it is travel size. It's a good companion for traveling for those who want to visit Egypt. And of course, people who travel to Egypt are often in love with the culture and the history of Egypt. And so this is something that can accompany them on that journey and their travels, where they go and experience the food firsthand, and they want to know, oh my goodness, how can I make this at home? Or what are the ingredients there, and can I get it back home? Or what's an equivalent, and that sort of thing. So this book really is for the traveler, but it's also for those who just want a bit of an experience into Egyptian food, with a lot of the most popular and the most well-known, the very favorite kind of dishes, all in the one book.
Do you have, I forgot to ask, do you have Molekai in this book?
Yes, there'll be Molekai as one of the favorites. Yes.
Awesome. And then we are going to have many other recipes. Please stay put with me. You are watching and listening Peace Mindedly, a podcast featuring peaceful bridge makers. Our guests are connectors of cultures, languages, nations, name it. And our guest today, Dyana Eldaief, is one of those people who are connecting Australia to the rest of the world with food. Egyptian flavors, 50 recipes. Again, as I said, is very easy to follow recipes and instructions that you can make. And I think Dyna's probably she's eager to just have us to cook Egyptian dishes. So therefore, she has created the book that is not very hectic in terms of jargon or language and so forth. And here's the other thing: I'm just going to ask this question, but there's not much picture. It's only drawings and also explanation about the food. So this is the 5th season for Peace Mindedly. We are talking with many amazing people that you can find for this season. You hear from Mansour Eldaief, author of Don't Forget Us Here, Lost and Found in Guantanamo. He is an activist who is trying to advocate for closing Guantanamo prison in Cuba. You may know Guantanamo prison is notorious place that held Muslims captive with mostly fake charges and fake allegations. This is an amazing conversation with Mansour. We also talk with Ziba Mir Hosseini. Ziba is a very brave and courageous advocate for women's rights, who is basically fighting against patriarchy within the Islamic system. Her new book, Journeys Toward Gender Equality in Islam, is coming out. I think has been out by the time that we are airing this program. And then you can find Ziba's book on peacemindedly.com and also on many other places. Amra Seybik El Reyes survived Bosnia-Herzegovina's genocide in 1994, and she decided to write a non-fiction book for teenage or for young adults, I should say, about her experience of being Muslim in Europe and how she experienced the war. Her book, The Cat I Never Named, a true story of love, war, and survival, is out and we are talking with her for this season. You also need to know that we are putting together a workshop. This workshop is family therapy for Muslim families, and then there we are having this workshop. We're coming out of pandemic, and many families have been distressed or have been under so much pressure. Our guests and panels in this show are going to talk about how to really take care of the mental health of family when we are upholding our own values on our own value systems. Mariam Kamin, Neelam Khaki, and Sarah Schreiber, our board members, also helping with the program, are working on that workshop. Please check peacemindedly.com to learn more about to learn the dates and also sign up for the workshop. Back to this hour, we are talking with Dyana Eldaief, author of Egyptian Flavors, 50 Recipes. This is Dyna's second book, as she was mentioning her first book, The Taste of Egypt. Home cooking from the Middle East was well received internationally, and encouraged her to write this book. And yes, she's here's what I would like about her. She's a master cook of cooking up a storm with cumin infused lentil or sensational stuffed wine leaves, the dish that we just talked about, and also Egyptian style moussaka that I think I'm gonna try it for Ramadan for sure. Okay, Daina. So if you were to make a sweet dish for Ramadan, what would be your choice?
Well, sweet things, yes. We all
Or
love
a
basbousa.
dessert, not
Yes,
necessarily a dish or dessert. So what would you think? What are you thinking about for a sweet dish?
sweet. Well, probably basbousa. Very, very popular. It's very quick to make and it's very easy. And you can just have a little piece of it. Usually, I can't stop at a little piece. Let's be honest.
Yeah, what
But
is the name again?
basbousa.
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 Bus in Farsi means kiss.
Yes, it likewise it does mean kiss, but basbousa is semolina. It's
What is
infused with
basbousa? What is basbousa?
it's like a cake, a semolina cake, but it's
Uh-huh.
semolina. Yeah, it's
Semolina.
drenched.
What is semolina?
Semolina is oh, I wish I got some to show you. You'll find that at stores as well, but it's uh, basically you'll find it in the middle Mediterranean section or the international aisle. It's like they're little tiny balls that you see, very, very fine grains, and you
Mm-hmm.
mix that with flour, milk, butter.
It's kind of a grain.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
It's like the end of the wheat. It's very, very fine though, in very, very small balls.
Mm-hmm.
And in my first cookbook, even though it's not very traditional, basbousa, I have two different recipes in The Taste of Egypt. But when I had my daughter, she was dairy intolerant, and for her benefit, I actually developed a dairy-free basbousa, which really tastes delicious. So even though that's not a traditional basbousa, I've incorporated that in The Taste of Egypt because it's such more and more people globally experience intolerances, and dairy intolerance is fairly big. So they're catered for, at least in the basbousa, because I couldn't imagine my daughter not tasting basbousa growing up and needing to taste that. It's a delicious, sweetened with vanilla sugar syrup, which is my favorite, but you could use rose water
It's
syrup.
a kind of a cake, right?
It's a bit like a cake, yeah.
It's a bit like a cake.
Yeah,
And
but not. Sorry, I was
yeah.
going to say not heavy, not dense. You won't find well, I suppose it is a little bit dense because it's just the grains and there's not a lot of there's not a lot of rising in it.
Mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm.
it's quite nice. And often you'll find it, and you may have seen it with almonds over the top.
You also mentioned another sweet dish, basbousa, and the other one.
Oh, it was basbousa in multiple ways. So you can make it with milk and butter, and I've also got a recipe made with yogurt. And
so do you have
completely
it in
dairy?
Yeah, do you have it
dairy-free.
in Egyptian flavors?
Yes, there'll be a basbousa in there. Yes, for
Okay,
sure. I'm
awesome,
sure.
awesome. And so, in your opinion, have you tasted Turkish food or Iranian food? I'm sure probably Lebanese food. What are the major differences between those cuisine and Egyptian cuisine?
I think with most of the differences you'll find is either in the way that it's cooked or the ingredients that are used. So as we've talked about earlier, you can find dolma, which is the Greek version. They make theirs and it's served cold. And in Egypt, it's served hot. They're much more delicate, flavored with lamb and with lemon juice. And so the style of cooking is very different. Also, I think the Greeks tend to use a lot of herbs and just rice in their mashi, whereas in Egypt it's a combination of both. In Turkish and in Lebanese cuisine and things like that, there are changes in the ingredients used. We talked about ta'miya or falafel, which has chickpeas in the Lebanese version. And in Egypt, they don't use chickpeas. They'll use broad beans to make theirs. The herbs are more prominent, I think, in the Egyptian version. You'll find that it's more moist. It's not. It's quite moist and it's very vibrant green. So it's full of those colors and herbs.
What is your favorite dish?
Oh, just one. Good question. I know I should have just a single answer for this, and I don't, because I like so many. My kids absolutely adore Molekai, and as a birthday dinner treat every year, they get to choose their own dish that they want me to make. And for many years, I'd say over 10 years, they all chose Molekai on their birthdays. So it's something that I've grown to enjoy more because I see the joy when they eat it. Personally, I really love a roast chicken in the oven and just very mildly sort of seasoned. And one of the lovely ways is with a stuffing made with farik and rice. And I wanted to prepare a recipe for you in video, so hopefully you'll get that to pop up for guests to try. But it's really lovely because the grains take on the flavor of the fat which renders from the chicken and creates a lovely stock. And in with the farik, you get that nutty flavor as well. So it's really very nice.
I know you're not Muslim, and let's say I am coming to your house for Ramadan. So, what is the first dish you may offer me, and the second dish?
I would think probably I would go with. No, I think I'd probably do full madames because I think it's light and you can add to it what you like, so you can vary that, and people can be part of that making process. Sometimes even with full madames, you can add boiled eggs, pop that on the table, some feta cheese, and people can add what they like to their own full madames. And I think it just brings people together and gives them that feeling of making their own contribution to that meal.
Excellent. Does your husband eat anything other than Egyptian food?
Yes. I met my husband because he used to enjoy Egyptian cuisine. He's always wondered what I was eating. And I used to always offer everyone, and I still do really, when I make something, everyone should try. And I think you can't say you don't like a food until you've tried it. You can't look at something and say, I don't eat that.
Mhm.
And so I really always say I met my husband through food and through his stomach. So uh,
Isn't
um,
almond the same?
yeah, I think so. But for someone, because he's Australian, I think that it was not something that I could predict, actually, that he would really enjoy so much variety in the Egyptian cuisine. And at home, certainly, we vary. We make a lot of different foods, from roasts to, um, we make sushi rolls, or we will have stir fries, or there's just a variety of different cuisines,
Do we
that,
have
that we enjoy.
kebab in Egyptian cuisine? Kebab.
Kebab, yeah. Um, Yes, they do that, and they can even have it with kofta, which is sort of also on a kebab as well. So the mincemeat or the cubes of meat. The kofta, several varieties, as we said, it can be a kebab, but it can also be made as a dish, which is cooked often in a pot with tomato
Yes.
sauce. So they're often balls, called
Yes.
kofta. Yeah, kebab,
Yes.
halla, that's called in a
Yes.
pot.
Halla.
Mhm.
Excellent. You can never go wrong with kebab with my husband. It's always kebab. And my
Yes,
daughter keeps complaining, you always order kebab. What's wrong with you?
yeah,
But in our
it's
household is
good.
this yes, it's delicious. In our household, the rule is just try one or two spoons. If you don't like it, just put it away.
Yes, yeah.
And I sometimes can win within the first two spoons.
Yes, and I think
Yes.
that says a lot about food. I mean, you can really connect with people in ways they don't expect and get them out of their comfort zone. But to realize that, wow, I would never have tried that if you weren't here, or I would never have ordered that in a restaurant, except that you like to try different things, or what have you. So personally, myself, I do like to try different things. I actively go out. Looking for new ingredients or new dishes in a restaurant, and I want to try that. And of course, I then encourage my family to try them. And because my husband is obviously clearly, he's happy to eat whatever. He doesn't cook in our house; he just eats.
Nice,
So
nice. I had a guest from Congo, and then I'm trying to remember his name. So it's a amazing book, 20 pairs of shoes for refugees in Congo, and then he kept talking about goat meat, and I have never tried goat meat. So I
right.
went out and bought a goat meat and actually made the stew very delicious. So yeah, I am all about trying new things. Please stay put with me. You are watching and listening to Peace Mindedly, a podcast featuring peaceful bridge makers. We kept talking about food, and now I cannot stop my saliva. But this program is for Ramadan, and I hope that you can buy and try some of the recipes Daina is talking about in this book. So if I can show you the book, yeah, this is a small book, but it's very mostly drawings, not elaborate, lots of I mean drawing, and no picture to distract, and easy to follow and go through instructions. You know the deal for our show. At the end of every program, we ask our guests to share something meaningful about peace, about kindness and compassion, and that includes Dyna. Okay, Dyna, we're all ears.
Well, my very strong belief that I've held and I like to share is that I believe food transcends all boundaries. I believe that it transcends nationality, gender, religion, and all people from all walks of life. We can all bond and connect and share food together. And that's a way that we are all common.
Yes, very well put, said. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed the conversation, and you made me very hungry and ready for iftar. Thank you so much. With Sarah Schreiber, we wish you pleasant evening. It's a night time for us. It's around 8 p.m. for me and around 10 p.m. for Sarah, and I believe it's 3 p.m. for you. The next day of our day in Melbourne.
Yes, so yes, the sun is still out here.
Yeah.
So I wish you a good night, but thank you, Sarah and Sarah, for having me. And I wish you all the best and happy cooking and happy eating.
Sure. Thank you so much. Happy Ramadan. Khuda Hafiz.